Did you want me, or am I going first, or
Yeah, I think what we're gonna do is go ahead and go with Miss Chloe. Chloe has been with USADA since 2016. Her initial role was marketing and outreach coordinator. Then in 2020, she was appointed the fund match manager, and now stepping into her new role as the engagement executive, covering Guam, Hawaii, CNMI, and Northern California. With her strong program knowledge and understanding, she can fulfill her desire to help small agricultural companies succeed in the international marketplace. So Chloe is here to give us more details about USADA and how the organization can help grow your business. So I do want to let folks know that throughout Ms. Chloe's presentation today, if you have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat and we'll get through them at the end of her presentation. And yeah, so with that, I'll turn it over to Chloe. Welcome, Chloe.
yeah, thank you so much, Angel, for the introduction. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here, and I appreciate the invite to discuss WUSADA and our resources and how we can help and support you with your exporting efforts. So let me share my screen here and we'll get started. All right. So like I said, I'll be presenting an overview of WUSADA, which is the Western U.S. Agricultural Trade Association. So getting to know WUSADA. So WUSADA is a independent nonprofit trade association that works with our 15 member state and territorial departments of agriculture and the USDA to help agribusinesses export their goods overseas. And so our organization has been dedicated solely to exporting for 40 plus years, and we receive funds from the USDA's Market Access Program, which is often referred to as MAP, and which supports the overseas marketing and promotional activities by US companies. And so we use our MAP funds to support those companies in the Western region through all stages of exporting. So we have a global network of partners and resources, which include in-country trade representatives. We also work closely with the agricultural trade offices, which are often referred to as ATOs, and then the agricultural marketing divisions of our member states and territories. So our mission and vision. So our mission is to increase international growth of Western agribusinesses by providing financial support. We have export readiness and business development services. And our vision for 2033 is for Western agribusinesses to thrive in world markets. So while we're not a government agency, we are closely linked to state/territory and federal departments of agriculture. So these are our members that we represent, and we have sister-like organizations that cover different regions of the US. They do the exact same thing, we're just named a bit differently. And so each state/territory agricultural marketing division works in partnership with WUSADA to provide a mix of trade activities as well as services. And that could also include like market research and assistance with overcoming trade barriers. So how does a business qualify for WUSADA? So the company has to be headquartered in the WUSADA region, so within the region that we represent. A company has to be a small to medium-sized agribusiness, and then their products need to be at least 50% US grown. And so we only work with small to medium-sized agribusinesses. We do not work with large corporations. So our programs were designed the programs are geared towards small businesses. And 90% of our participants have 10 or fewer employees. But the WUSADA blueprint. So we have different services and programs that we offer depending on the stage that you're at in your exporting. So we have export readiness, which provides access to market intelligence as well as consumer insights through monthly webinars, as well as monthly reports that we offer from our in-country representatives. We also offer Global Connect, and this is our activity-based program. And so you can discover new markets by attending different types of activities. So a lot of these activities are geared towards international buyers, so you can increase your distribution or even just understanding the market, right? And then we also have the Fund Match program, which allows you to potentially get reimbursed $300,000 a year for international marketing activities. So we have a wide range of different services and programs that we offer for every step of the way. And so our first program that we offer is Export Readiness. And so you can learn more about market trends as well as like regulatory topics and how to export specific markets from WUSADA's in-country partner representatives. Our in-country partner representatives post market reports each month, which is awesome. So if something's happening within that region, you'll definitely know about it. And so we have reports for Japan, China, Korea, ASEAN, Latin America, and Africa. So we have a wide range of different in-country representatives that offer those reports on a monthly basis. And so, you know, it's when I do talk to companies, I think it's critically important to make sure you do your research and make sure you take advantage of these types of reports that are offered for free from our in-country representatives. You know, these people are, you know, on the ground, they know what the economy is like, they know what the trends are. So really important to do your research, especially the country that you're interested in exporting, or just to see if your product is suitable for that country. And even to keep a few things in mind is to potentially attend a trade mission that we offer, or even look at, like I said, some of these reports, and we can pull some tailored market data as well. So more of a customized report to align with your products. But really it's to make sure you're prepared before going to a country. So exporting to a country, which we can assist with. All right, so Global Connect. So this is our activity-based program. And so here are some international trade shows that we have WUSADA pavilions at. So we will purchase around, 10 to 40 trade show booths within a larger USA pavilion. And so companies have the perk of being within our WUSADA pavilion, having our members or project managers from our member state and territory departments represented there. So if anything, if you need assistance with setting up or you need a translator, we offer those kinds of services if you were to be within our WUSADA pavilion. We also offer coordinated one-on-one meetings with foreign buyers. And another type of trade activity we offer are inbound and outbound trade missions. And so with inbound trade missions, this is where we bring international buyers to the US. And this is usually within WUSADA's region. And so this is for US companies to meet one-on-one with buyers. And so this could include like facility tours or special events to enhance that buyer-supplier relationship. And a lot of these missions are cost effective, as you can, meet these buyers, close to where you live, or even, within the US. And usually they're very low cost. Some are at times complimentary, which I think is very awesome for small businesses, especially to meet one-on-one with potential buyers. Another type of activity we offer are outbound trade missions, where we bring the US companies to a foreign market. And so that gives you the opportunity to have retail or grocery store tours and meet with the agricultural trade office within that country. And typically they offer like market briefings, and you really get that experience to understand their culture and what the buyers are looking for. And so with outbound trade missions, those are typically low cost as well to attend. And I recommend, going to inbound missions first, just to kind of get a feel, with meeting with buyers and just making sure that, you do your research and getting their feedback too. I think it's a great opportunity to get feedback from buyers and understanding what they're looking for. So maybe you can adjust to their needs, or just understand that, oh, maybe this is not a market my product will do well in, but at least and you put that effort into, going into the mission and things like that. All right. So another service we offer called Trade Leads, and this is when you have created your MyWasada account, you can get access to Trade Leads. So Trade Leads are time-sensitive requests from foreign buyers who are seeking specific products, right? And so when a request comes in from a buyer, what WUSADA will do is we'll pre-screen it, and then we'll send the lead out into our system that matches your company's product focus, which is those HS codes. They're called harmonized system codes, and they use this worldwide for trading products. And so we align that with your company's HS codes, and it's a free service we offer, and it's ultimately up to the company to reach out to the buyer if you're interested. It's just in addition to meeting buyers on activities, we can send out leads through our system, which is pretty awesome. All right. So the Fund Match program. So the Fund Match program provides 50% reimbursement for eligible marketing activities. And so on average, our companies receive a return on investment from 57 to 1, which is awesome for a program. And just to kind of get into a little bit more details about how much you can request and eligibility, we'll talk more about that in the next few slides here. But for a first applicant or even a first time exporter, you can request up to $25,000. And if you are an experienced exporter, you can request up to $50,000 for your first year. Now, after being in the program for more than a year, you can request up to the maximum, which is $300,000, which means you're spending $600,000 on different promotional activities and seeking reimbursement for $300,000. So eligibility for the program. So you have to be considered a small company according to SB guidelines, and that depends on your company's category of products. It varies depending on whether you're a winery or like a pet food company. It really depends on your type of products, and we can help you with that. And a company has to be a U.S. business entity, which means they have to be legally licensed and operating for at least 1 year before applying for the program. And then for the products and packaging, there are a few requirements. So products need to be at least 50% U.S. grown by weight, which means they have to be farmed, fished, or forested anywhere in the U.S. We have to make sure that you're either the brand owner, unless you're representing other companies' brands. And then your products have to be clearly labeled with a U.S. origin statement, which could be made in the USA, it could be product of the USA, or another eligible U.S. origin statement. And here are some of the U.S. origin statements. Like I said, we have made in the USA, product of USA, and there's a few other ones that companies can put on their labels. And if you ever have any questions about if there's a statement that's not on there, you can always reach out to me and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. All right. So what are some promotional activities that are eligible through Fund Match? So I first want to say we have a fun match guide that goes through all of this, and it will list everything that is eligible and what is not eligible. But to first start off, we have a approved domestic trade show list. There's about, I would say, 30 or 40 trade shows listed on there, and they range from, Winter Fancy Food, if you ever heard of the Winter Fancy Food Show. There's Expo West, which is a very popular trade show within the US market, and a few other ones. And so if companies exhibit at one of these approved domestic trade shows, you could get your booth fee reimbursed at 50%. You could get your printed sales material or even uniforms that you create for that show, as well as shipping your freight or your samples to the show. And there's a lot more associated with that, but there's a lot of different expenses that companies can get reimbursed for just by exhibiting at a trade show. The next one is freight and shipping, which I kind of mentioned earlier. So if you have potential international customers that want some samples of your product, we can reimburse 50% of your freight for shipping those samples to that potential international customer. Our outbound trade missions that we offer are eligible for Fund Match. So you could get your airfare, your hotel and meals 50% reimbursed for that outbound trade mission, and anything associated with that mission, like printed sales material, freight for shipping your samples to that mission, things like that. We also have label and packaging modifications, which can get pretty expensive. So when companies are ready to, let's say, start exporting their product, let's say a company starts exporting to Canada. Well, Canada has labeling regulations. So they'll require you to translate your labels into French. They'll even have you change your nutritional labels as well to meet their standards, their laws. And so if countries require you to do that, we can reimburse for the graphic design, the translation, and then up to a 1-year supply of labels, which can get very expensive depending on the country that you're exporting to. And I have noticed over the years that countries change their labeling regulations often. So you're having to change those quite a bit, which we can help with too. So if they change it, then that sets you up for another year of labels too. So, and then advertising. There's different types of advertising that you can get reimbursed for. So if you want to do a magazine ad in a foreign market, that is eligible as well. Billboard ads, you could even do like taxis, buses, and even social media. So there's a wide range of different types of advertisements that you can seek reimbursement for. And then website and web page production. So if you need to, let's add a web page to your existing website that, let's say it's all translated in French because you're focusing on the Canadian market, then that could potentially be reimbursed. If you want to add another different website specifically for Canada, so it's .ca, you can do that too because it's geared towards a foreign market. And then we have international trade shows. So with international trade shows, it's similar to domestic trade shows, but there's one main difference is that we can cover travel expenses for international trade shows. And so you can do airfare, lodging, and your meals and incidentals. On top of that, you can do your booth fee and then freight for shipping your samples and uniforms and banners and rental of, let's say you have to rent a refrigerator or a microwave, things like that. And then, like I said earlier, the Fund Match Guide goes through everything that's eligible and ineligible. And of course, if there's something on there that you have a question on or it's not on the list, we can set up a call and go through that as well. And even talk about your specific plans that you may want to do in the future, right? If you're thinking about exhibiting at a trade show, let's get on a call and talk about it and see if it makes sense to apply for Fund Match. So. Now, for the Fund Match program, there is a process, and a company will have a Fund Match consultation. So that's where you have a one-on-one call with our Fund Match liaison, and she'll go through the whole process with you from applying to your plans and just best how we can support you, right? So making sure that your needs are met and making sure that you're going to be successful within the program. And so each company will apply each year, and there is a application that you'll go through, and there's an application fee of $250. And once it goes through the application process, the manager will review it, ask you any questions, and then there will be a contract and then an invoice for a 6% admin fee based on how much you are requesting. And then that's where you can start conducting your activities, right? So after the contracting phase is done, that's where you can start exhibiting at trade shows or doing your billboard ads or social media posts, things like that. And so after each activity has been completed, then you will submit a claim within 60 days of that activity ending, and we'll review it. We'll make sure that we have all the information we need. And then from there, we will disperse funds to your company. Right now, we only disperse funds via check. We are in the process of looking into ACH, which is electronic transfer of funds. So it's a lot more quicker versus sending a check. So, and the Fund Match application process is the same every year. It doesn't change. So, all right. So I have a few success stories I wanted to share in my presentation today about the companies that have participated within our program. And so our first one is Brazzi Bites, and they are from Portland, Oregon, and they have been utilizing WUSADA's Fund Match program since 2015. And so David, their director of club sales, highlighted how Fund Match enabled a more aggressive marketing strategy in Canada for their food products in 2022. And so the support from the Fund Match program allowed Brazzi Bites to expand their presence in foreign markets, notably in Western Canada, where they contracted an additional local co-packer to meet demand. So they have grown a lot. I see them in different stores around the West, which is awesome to see. And they weren't doing much international marketing at all when they first started with WUSADA. And now they're all over in Canada, which is awesome. And then the next company I have to share is called East West Beer, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And so East West Beer Exchange, they were funded in 2017, and they have rapidly expanded its craft beer exports from Colorado to 12 European countries. And joining the Fund Match program in 22 allowed them to attend key trade events like the International Food and Drink event in London, where they secured new buyers and distributors. And so their success has not only boosted their local economy, but it also earned them recognition as Exporter of the Year from the Small Business Administration and Governor of Colorado. And so a few tips for success. Meet with a Fund Match consult with our liaison. We have a great Fund Match guide that goes into details of everything that's associated with the program. We also offer example claims and tutorials on a monthly basis, which is super helpful because we host them, like I said, every month, which is awesome. And we pick different topics, whether it's for international trade shows or label and packaging modifications. It's always different, and we always record them. So if you're unable to attend, we have them all on our website. And so if you haven't already, I would recommend signing up for My WUSADA account. You'll fill out a few details of your company, and then a WUSADA team member will be in touch. if we have any questions. But once you create your My WUSADA account, we can schedule a call to talk about, your plans, what have you thought about doing as far as exporting, and we can, kind of gear you towards what program makes more sense, and then go from there. And then I just put my email right there, chloe@wusada.org. I will say that in my experience with working with a lot of small businesses, I would recommend to do your research. It's very, very important. I know that reading reports is not fun, but we try to put these intelligent reports from our in-country partners in a nice way, where there's like graphs and things for you to review. But it's really important, and that's kind of the advice I would give to companies. Do your research. Attend trade missions. They're low cost, where you can meet with those buyers, get feedback, get comfortable talking with buyers, knowing your price points, being prepared to talk about your products, and know your terms, right? And talk to them about your products, right? Every company that I've worked with, they always have a story. And I feel like if you share that story, it's meaningful, and that will open up, connections with buyers, and so they can learn, about your story and your products, and how awesome they are and meaningful to you. So I just want to say thank you, Angel, for inviting me to present. And if anybody has any questions, or if you want to email me, I'd be happy to speak with you, even one-on-one. And yeah, so.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chloe. Does anyone have any questions? I mean, those are like so many value bombs you had there. I was like making notes like crazy. Did anyone?
I mean, if nobody else has any questions for now, I did have a couple of questions. This is Mark from Guam. So is WUSADA then essentially geared towards assisting with people that have already figured out the logistics of manufacturing at export scale, or are you able to help? Most of like our entrepreneurial businesses are producing on a small scale, right? But they don't have the ability right now to produce a 40-foot container full of product and ship it off overseas, right? Now,
Yeah.
Can you match make them with logistics professionals that can help them figure out what kind of machinery they would need in order to produce that quantity? Or is it basically you already have to have that figured out before you can really participate with WUSADA?
No, thank you, Mark. That's a great question. So we don't have trade activities that are geared towards like meeting logistics representatives. It's more geared towards like buyers who are looking to buy, U.S. products.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of an organization that does do that. I would say maybe potentially Commerce might know more about that.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure as far as logistics goes, but I would say, companies don't have to be ready to export to join WUSADA, because we do have, the export readiness program that offers, market intelligent reports, and we're going to start adding more services with that program. We're going to start adding more like webinars, and potentially like customized like one-on-one meetings with experts. We just haven't gotten to that point yet, but I would say that companies who aren't ready to export, I would just say know that WUSADA is here. And once you are ready to like make that leap, definitely utilize FundMatch. But I think companies who want to learn more or kind of start the process, maybe join an inbound mission, or like I said, look at some of those market intelligent reports, start just kind of researching and getting ready to potentially export. So yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, we have a couple questions. That's a great question, Mark. Thank you for that. We have a couple questions in the chat. One was, would the Guam product seal satisfy the origin requirement? So I guess I could just give you a little bit of the Guam product seal background. So it is overseen by DITA, and their requirements too are that 50% or more of the products would have to be, made in Guam, sourced in Guam. So with that, I guess with that, does that satisfy the origin requirement, like made in the USA, manufactured in the USA, or would it have to say made in the USA specific, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Seals are not an eligible U.S. origin statement, but that doesn't mean we can ask FAS, the Foreign Ag Service, the USDA, if it could be. But they recommend that there's an actual statement versus the seal, because seals have, state or territory seals have different requirements in addition to WUSADA's fund match requirements. So I'd recommend having a separate statement, like products of USA, made in the USA. But companies can certainly ask, and you can always email me with the statement or the seal, and we could certainly look into it and see.
Great, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Great question. Great question.
That's a great question.
That came from Joy.
Mm-hmm.
We have another one. Does jewelry made with shells or stones collected on Guam or woven with, let's say, some local palm leaves and other, I guess, organic materials be eligible as ag businesses?
That's a great question. So we only work with value-added food products. So they have to be like perishable type of products. So we only work with like food, ag, and beverage, and we wouldn't consider that as like perishable, like because we work with like companies who, for example, like toothpicks, for instance. We don't have a lot of toothpick companies, but that was just something that was a bit one-off, but it has to be like perishable, food-related, value-added products that we work with, processed food products.
Okay.
Or
Okay,
beverages.
Oh, great. Thank you for that clarification, because the follow-up was, how would you determine what ag business is, right? And I think you just expanded on that. Would that be kind of similar then? Because under the value-added products, would that kind of be the same as USDA's program? They have a value-added program grant. Is that something similar to like what WUSADA has too, or the same?
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not very familiar with that program and the requirements for that. But as far as value added, I relate it to like jams. Like jam is a value added product because you're getting the fruit and then you're making it into something else, right? Or even like almond butter, like it's value added processed products. We do have there are commodity cooperators out there that represent more of like certain fruits. Like we have a cherry commission. I think there's like a watermelon commission, like things like that, there's all sorts of different cooperators out there that focus on different commodity driven categories. But yeah, we focus more on the value added processed products side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Under the eligibility requirements for WUSADA, if not the brand owner, can the company be a licensed distributor by the brand owner?
Sure. Yeah, we call those export trading companies, and export trading companies can certainly be in our programs. They just have to fill out a form called a certificate of exclusivity, and that's where we verify with the brand owner, hey, is this trading company, are they allowed to represent your products on WUSADA like trade missions as well as through the Fund Match program? So we always go back to the brand owner to make sure that that's okay, because we don't want trading companies or other companies representing brands that aren't okay with that. So we always like to verify to make sure that that's accurate and okay with the brand owner. So
Got it. Yeah, that totally makes sense, because I actually had a question on like if there were some products that everything was made in the US, but again, it's like white labeling or whichever. I know that some folks do that. Would that be something that's allowable under USADA?
What kind of what kind of labeling was that?
It would be like for most producers, right? The entire product is made in the US, but maybe it doesn't have a specific brand or whichever. And so kind of like on a distributor basis, would that, technically a company would come in and place their brand on it. Would that kind of be part of like USADA's, would that be eligible?
Yeah, as long as they're promoting a brand,
Right.
absolutely. Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
that's totally fine. Yeah, and going back to export trading companies, we do work with quite a few just because a lot of small companies don't have the bandwidth to, promote their products internationally. So sometimes they'll hire an export trading company to do that. So they can just focus on producing their product versus promoting their product. So yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing, with some of our companies here on Guam is, our folks are really great producers and manufacturing and having that handled and having the ability to
Mhm.
hand it off to someone who could or a company that could be able to build out the brand, still utilizing that would be great.
Yeah.
Um, Hmm. You know, in the Fund Match program, there's a lot of great, like you said, looking through that guide would be helpful to like, there's so many reimbursement processes. So what typically would be like the time frame, that folks could get the reimbursement for that?
Yeah. Yeah. So if the claim is, let's say it's approved, ready for payment, then it's a 2 to 3 week turnaround for us to disperse your payment to you. And right now it's via check, and we're in the stages of moving to ACH, which is the electronic transfer of funds between bank to bank. So so it could be a lot quicker, but right now it's 2 to 3 weeks turnaround for payment.
I see. Okay. And that's
Yeah.
pretty good. I guess like I can see where you're saying like if they've already booked the hotel, purchased their airfare like months in advance, that's something that they can submit for and get that 50% reimbursement if approved. Would that be
Mhm.
an example of that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, if a company is exhibiting at a trade show, and um, so they have the last day of the trade show, that's where the claim submission window starts, right? So they have 60 days to submit a claim after that trade show ends. And so they can submit it a week after. We just recommend submit it within 60 days so we can, review your claim and disperse payment to you as soon as possible. Of course, if we receive the claim and we need something or we have a question, we'll go right back to you and ask for that, right? So we want to make
Hmm.
sure that we have everything we need, and then we can disperse funds to the company. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so I guess in that as we talk about preparing for the trade show and preparing for, these whether they're outbound or inbound shows, one of the things that you mentioned is that it'd be best for folks to meet with a consultant or with the Fund Match consult. Do you help folks develop maybe like a strategy for some of their trade shows? Like, is there like a liaison or something that or an advisor that can help them to, kind of determine or I guess kind of help them focus on that? Because I know that that is especially with some of these folks, if it's their first time going to a trade show, like helping them, to kind of figure out, like how you're saying, is it a good show for me to attend given my products?
Mm.
What's the strategy to attend this show that, if it's to kind of get more brand recognition, or is this just a research and development type thing that they're doing? So can you talk a little bit about some of that?
Yeah, so a lot of the activities we offer, we work closely with our in-country contractors and then also our members. Typically, we have 1 or 2 members from our states or the territories who join the inbound mission. That means they're the ones who are like planning, they're the ones who are working closely with the in-country contractors to obtain buyers. So they're kind of like the experts in knowing like hey, this trade mission would probably be a good fit for you. And so what we do on each activity is we'll list out the suitable products and things like that. And if you still have questions, we usually list the project manager's contact information, and you can always contact them and be like, hey, these are the type of products I have. Do you think this would be a good fit with the buyers that you've obtained for this trade mission? So they can tell you, yeah, maybe, or hey, maybe this trade mission might be better suited for your products. So that's one way that you can do to make sure that your products are aligned with the buyers that are coming, because we don't want companies, on a trade mission where there's no buyers that are specifically looking for their category of products, right? So we want to make sure it's a good fit. Now, as far as like preparing for a trade mission and trade show, I know that we do like pre-activity meetings to make sure everybody has everything. Hey, have you sent your product samples yet? These are the types of buyers that are coming. This is what they're looking for. So just so they're prepared for those trade missions. We are working on becoming a lot more like customized with companies and making sure they're set up for success, whether it's going to a trade mission or trade show. And so we added a development and engagement department, which I'm a part of. We just created it a few months ago, so we're still kind of developing it, but essentially what we want to do is have each company have a guided experience, right? Making sure that they're set up for success, whether it's going to a trade show, trade mission, or different types of promotional activities that they're conducting. But our project managers really do a good job making sure that companies are prepared prior to going to a trade show or trade mission. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and I feel like sometimes, especially too, as these folks are going maybe on their first or even to second or third trade mission, there's a lot of these lessons learned that they've gained from, previous shows. And I know you mentioned it would be best for folks to maybe attend an inbound show first before an outbound. Can you talk a little bit about, about some of that and, how that can really help business owners, kind of prepare, to actually make better, I guess, expectations and sales, right, come the next trade fair that they're going to be attending?
Yeah, I just think that inbound missions are just a great low cost way to get in front of buyers and get familiar with promoting your product, right? And telling your story. And with inbound missions, you're at your 6-foot table and you have, we like to relate it to speed dating. I know that's not a great example, but I'm like, that's the only way I can really explain this. So you're basically speed dating with a buyer, right? So you have 20 minutes with a buyer talking about your products, right? And what they're looking for. They ring the bell and then the next buyer comes. And so that really gives you that one-on-one time with the buyer to really talk about your products in depth. I've heard buyers say, hey, like this would be great. Maybe if you downsized your product packaging or make it bigger, or maybe the colors need to be a little bit different to align with the country's culture. Like there's always just different things I think that come up, but it gives you that experience, right? And so your next trade mission, you'll know like, all right, this is how I need to start promoting my product. This is how I should pitch my products, my company, things like that. So I think the more you attend, the more comfortable you'll get. And then you'll even gain insight, right? You'll gain insight by going to these trade missions, because not only are there one-on-one meetings with foreign buyers, there could be a facility tour or a grocery store tour, especially if you're going to an outbound mission. They often will take all the US companies to go to a grocery store, so you can see how a country's grocery store looks like compared to what the US has. And you'll just see different trends, and you'll be able to meet the ATO, the Agricultural Trade Office there. I know they do briefings about how the economy is doing, what different classes are looking for, as far as like middle class, upper class, like things like that. Like what are the trends? So you're aware of, okay, maybe this is something I need to look into more. and then go from there. But I just think that inbound missions are just a great experience for companies who are just starting out. And then you can kind of increase from that, right? If you're comfortable and you're like, I want to go to maybe a domestic trade show, right? And then kind of level up from there. You know, trade shows can get very busy and very overwhelming depending on the trade show. So instead of having a one-on-one with a buyer, you could have 5 people at your booth asking you questions, right? And so once you feel more comfortable and you have that experience, it'll be really, really good, right? And so, and then, you know, a lot of companies start out with domestic trade shows and then they move to an international trade show, right? Which is even bigger. And so, but you have to keep in mind that a lot of these trade shows bring in a huge foreign presence. And so that's why those domestic trade shows are listed within the guide, because they have a huge foreign audience. There's lots of buyers that come. So yeah, I think it's just experience and knowing your product, which I'm sure you all do. And it's just telling somebody your products and your goals and what you're looking for in your exporting efforts. And it's just meeting, you know, the right buyer too. There's been a ton of companies that have come to me and said, you know, I've gone to a lot of inbound missions or outbound missions or trade shows, and I can't meet anyone. And then a year later, they find someone, and now they're in like 30 stores in Canada, and they're like, I just had to meet that right buyer, right? The buyer that aligned with my goals. They loved my story, my products, and they want my product to be in every store in Canada, right? So I think it's just making sure you do business with the right buyer, and knowing your terms and how far you want to like go. And yeah, so
No, I think that that's wonderful, you know, talking about that whole experience, because I feel, you know, folks, you know, not to be discouraged, to continue to go forward, right? It's because it is like a marathon, right? It's not something that can be done overnight. And like you said, it's just, it's the right time, right? You, like you said, you could go to 10 to 20 different events and not meet the right match. And I feel like, you know, that kind of touched on, I think you mentioned one of the, success stories that I think it was a company in Canada, and I saw they had a co-packer. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that, because, you know, Guam, we're kind of in a unique situation, and I feel like that whole idea of partnering right with the service provider in that international location can help businesses to expand like what their finished products could be, right? And help not only to mitigate their costs, but I feel like that kind of helps them to kind of expand to their distribution. So I mean, could you
right.
talk a little bit about that? Like how, you know, that can, is that something that, you know, other WUSADA members have seen, or are you seeing a lot more of that with small business owners and kind of that partnership that they can develop with other service providers?
Yeah, especially companies who, you know, they go to a lot more trade activities. They're probably going to get a lot of more inquiries about distributing their product in different countries. And yeah, I mean, I know a few companies that definitely co-pack just to meet with the needs of buyers, but I think it also goes back to making sure you know your limit and how much you can supply and not over promising. But also you have distributors who are willing to help you with that, right? Support your company or invest in your company. You might have someone that comes along who's like, I love your product and I want to invest in the company or buy it. You know, that also comes too. I met with a company a few weeks ago where they were bought out, but the company that bought them out still wanted them to be a part of their exporting efforts. And so even though they were bought out, they're still together, pursuing their exporting goals. So I think there are a lot of opportunities to partner. Again, it's just making sure you meet the right person to partner with, and utilize all your resources, right? Like we have the agricultural trade offices within the countries. So those are USDA officials. They're very familiar with distributors, buyers within those countries that they're stationed at. And Yeah, I mean, it all just depends, right? But yeah, I would say that co-packing is becoming a lot more popular just because there's more demand
Mhm.
internationally. So
Great. Yeah. So I think, with that, I just want to thank you so much for making time to meet with us again, Chloe.
yeah, of course.
And then real quickly, is the WUSADA, signing up for WUSADA, is that something that's free or paid, or, what could folks expect with that?
Yeah, so signing up for my WUSAD account is totally free, right? And once your account goes into a pending status, once you've created it, we'll review it to make sure we have all your company information. And once your account is approved, then you'll automatically be eligible to access our Global Connect activities. And so you can scroll through our events page and check those out. We list all our webinars, our inbound missions, our outbound missions, and pavilions we have at big trade shows. And then you'll have access to the Fund Match application to apply. And we also have like those market intelligence reports as well. And so I'd be happy to walk through with the company. So when you do create your MyWUSADA account, I'll see it, I'll reach out, and we can always schedule a call and talk about your company and your goals that you have. And I'd be happy to assist you with that and provide you information on that. We do have access, and I forgot to mention this about more like tailored reports. We have access to Euromonitor, which provides trade information as well as analysis, and we can really pull some like customized reports for your companies, like the top 5 markets based on your company's category of products, as well as other reports that they offer. They offer really great information. So I'd be happy to schedule a call. So
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Chloe. We appreciate
yeah,
the time that you sat with us. I know it's your President's Day holiday, but
it's okay. No, this was all worth it, and I appreciate you,
absolutely.
inviting me. And like I said, I'm here to support Guam companies, and let's get you exporting, or at least interested in exporting. And just know that we have a lot of resources out there to help small businesses. So there's no wrong door. Like if you come to me and we don't offer that program, I can certainly find who does, and we can help you. So
Great. Well, thank you so much, Chloe. We definitely
yeah,
appreciate
of
your
course.
time, and we love that you love Guam. Hopefully we can bring you out to come and
Yes,
visit us soon.
absolutely. That would be,
And
yeah, I would love that.
absolutely. All right, Melvin, you have that set up for the next WUSADA meeting to bring Chloe out to Guam. So
Yeah,
great. Thank you so much, Chloe. We appreciate it.
thank
Sito
you. Thank
Mossy.
you.
Thank you. So let's go ahead and switch over to our discussion with Marie Guerrero, as well as Tiff Kittigwa from Everything Guam LLC. And it's great for us to transition over to this conversation because Marie is a WUSADA member. So I'm happy to have a discussion with Marie and Tiff. Oh, excuse me, and Tiff. So that way, definitely some tips, from folks that have gone on multiple trips. And, I want to hear all about the fun stuff that you guys have been doing. Actually, a lot of work is really what it comes down to. It's a lot of work. So I definitely don't want to take away from that. So Marie, Tiff, take it away.
Hi, half a day, everybody. My name is Marie Guerrero from Everything Guam, and thank you for Chloe for speaking with us earlier. I've taken several notes as we're sitting here, so I'll reach out to you on some stuff that you pointed out. We benefited from WUSADA in so many different ways. The company, we're a very small cookie company here. And we've really come far in the last couple of years with the help of the staff grant through KETA and being now friends with WUSADA. I think we've benefited quite a bit. But before I go on, the company was actually able to go to Japan, not with any of the Guam folks here, but I'm kind of that early riser. So we got the notification before the rest of the world did because, Guam is where America's Day begins. So I saw ODARC early, and I automatically signed up when I saw Japan. And I was at a wedding. So Tiff was actually the one who went on our behalf and represented everything Guam and Japan with WUSADA. So maybe Tiff, if you want to start with that, since you actually kind of walked out with WUSADA
Sure.
being from Guam. Or
That outbound trade mission that we had the privilege to participate in was immensely helpful with the way that we're growing. Hafaday, my name is Tiffany, sorry. So I think it was anywhere between $450 and $500 some to sign up for the event. And it was 4 days of curated work. And from the early morning until about 7 or 8 at night, WUSADA had really great programming for us. And it was everything that Chloe had talked about. We saw a couple of different facilities, everything from new flash freezing technology to dark kitchens that are being set up in residential areas, just to bring some new life to Japan's fast food and delivery market. We saw how that trend is going. We went to a couple of supermarket audits, and that was amazing, very insightful, especially with the new category that we're trying to grow in. Everything Guam and Laddie Stone Cookies for a long time has sat comfortably in the giftable kind of food souvenir category, and we're looking to really expand into consumables, snacks, and the supermarket. So visiting the supermarket chains was invaluable for us. And the ATO, the Agricultural Trade Organization in Japan, we had a chance to sit through their talk, through USDA's talk in Japan, and we saw really how the culture is shaping what international businesses are doing abroad. I think the most striking example for me that I took from these talks was Pepsi. International Pepsi does over 500 new products every year, including seasonal pieces, and 20% of that is specifically made for Japan. And that spoke to how much Japan really, Japanese consumers are looking for seasonality. Something in Japan is very small runs of promotions or new packaging, so that the consumer who goes very frequently to the supermarket, because of small household size, in their frequent trips, they're always seeing something new. And that was something that the ATO and USDA told us we should put a lot of focus on. Japan values seasonality. They value small packages. They always want displays to look fresh because people are going very often to the supermarket. And in theory, that sounds like this. And in the supermarket, it looks like this, if that makes sense. So being on the ground with some local partners of WUSADA really changed the game for us in terms of what we were looking to do and how we should prepare. So I think, those supermarket audits changed the game for us in terms of our export. And we did find a couple of partners, thankfully. We had 1 day of speed dating kind of partner meetups. And these are the big names. This is Costco Japan, their international buyer, coming in, talking to us, letting us know your product looks good like this. You'll need to do this. We'll come visit you for that. And then you'll get on the shelf. But we'll need 33 pallets tomorrow. Those were the kind of conversations we had to kind of take into consideration. But for the investment of $500 or $600 plus the plane ticket, everything was curated, and I think it was well worth the fact finding for everything Guam.
Oh my gosh, that's jam-packed. I don't even
was
know
a
how
lot,
to take apart
too.
some of that. I feel like, if we can talk a little bit about, when you guys first started doing export and kind of how it has changed into where you guys are at today and how that's really influencing a lot from your product to manufacturing to pricing, your strategy and all. I know that's a whole lot that can totally be sectioned off, but if you want to talk to some parts of that and kind of, tell us through, how this is really changing, if not I want to say morphing, transforming everything Guam into this next stage?
Yeah, I think, I mean, what you said was a whole, like, morph is an understatement. I think when we first launched Everything Guam, we had a very grassroots, a very humble beginning, if you will. You know, we wanted to perpetuate culture. And knowing that the way that the island was going and food and language and everything else are, you know, we always wanted to put the grassroots component of our cookie. And we looked around and we have a really good cookie, and we saw other areas of the world selling good cookies on our island when we could do it just as good. We have the local talent, we have the local artists, we have everything we need to do something that would be great for Guam, and not have other people coming in to try to do that. So anyway, when we first started, we kind of started with the grassroots. We wanted to show our culture. We wanted to perpetuate culture. We wanted to show our artists, our farmers, our chefs. And we did that. And we feel we stood out. We took packaging to a different level on the island. We have some great packages on the island. But I think since 2014, when we first incorporated, I think we kind of took different models and our culinary background and our just need for wanting to make change, and we created a product that we feel was accepted well in the marketplace. Fast forward, we're at a point now where it's about growth, and it's about not only perpetuating culture, but it's just reaching stuff outside of our island. It's about showing our skill sets and what we have and take it to a global level. So yeah, going through trade shows and looking, and I will talk about ASD for a little bit. Our first stab at ASD, I mean, I go to trade shows here and there, to look for baking equipment and, those types of things, but to actually go there and show your product and learn from 2 or 3 booths down and listen to the conversation and just see the packaging and see the excitement and just see the need and the hunger, if you will, from everywhere, whether it be the passerbys, whether it be the buyers, whether it be the one trying to push their product, and just learning from the person next to you and seeing how much better you can be was just like it was a challenge. And it was something that when we came back, Tiff and I were ready to change the world. We're like, let's go. Who's coming with us? We're going, So it's good because we come from a close-knit organization, and I'll speak for myself, but, we have a lot of partners around us, and not necessarily business partners, but also Guam product sale holders and, Kuma, who comes out with these great young entrepreneurs to groom them. We kind of stand in full force in Guam. And I think by the few of us that are able to get to the trade shows and learn from others and see how we can level up as a small island in the Pacific is amazing. And I think it's something that we definitely have morphed as a company. We went from grassroots to now we want to really just share with everybody what we have. And we've got a good product, and all the avenues that we've been afforded, even the blessings that people have received our product well has got us to a different level. It's gotten me to the point where it's like, I want to be in Japan. I want to be in Korea. I want to be able to show, the rest of the world that we can stand next to Keebler and we can stand next to Chips Ahoy because we've got a good product. It's just about getting us out there. So I don't know if I answered the question, but I'm thinking that, it's just amazing where we've come in the last couple of years, from just being on the shelves of DFS, which is huge for us, to being on ABC stores, to, pivoting and doing what Tiff was talking about, getting into grocery stores. Now we're in Payless, we're in the gas stations with just simple bags. And we've got something down the road that's going to take us to a global level. And with the help of USADA, I think we can get there. So these are just the small things that small companies like ourselves need to get to the next level. So I think, have we morphed? Absolutely. Do we have a different mindset? Absolutely. I think we've progressed. I think we've grown. I think we've learned, and I think we want more. And I think all of that added together, hopefully we can be successful and other companies around us can get the same get bit by the wasada bug and be ready to go to the next trade show, So, I mean, it's all positive. So we've learned a lot.
Yeah, that was I think that's such a great picture to paint, the whole journey of how that changed your mindset in it, before it, or okay, before it, while you're in it, and then now as you're moving forward, and then just kind of
Right.
painting the picture of the things that need to get done. Like you said, it's like building that, not only the enthusiasm, but that you can do it, knowing that these are the types of resources that are available. And I feel like knowing is the power, because now you have
Right.
access to a little bit more resources. The options
Right.
are at your fingertips.
Right.
And I think too, kind of going back to what Tiff was mentioning, the value of being on the grounds and getting that type of feedback and discussing, with potential buyers. So I guess with that, Tiff, there's a whole plethora of questions that I have, right? When we kind of look at the categories of what are buyers looking for in Guam products? I mean, I guess if you can just somehow, talk a little bit through that, I think a lot of us are still just trying to figure out, pricing even too. I mean, how does that all kind of play through that? I know you mentioned the whole thing about 33 pallets and meeting those demands, right? Scalability and the ability to kind of like just turnkey it, right? So if you can talk us through,
Right.
what some of that insight kind of, helped you and helping to bring home to Marie and the team, moving forward. Yeah.
Right. Well, with Gita and the STEP program, we were able to attend ASD Market Week in Las Vegas, an international trade show, and we were able to do that 2 years in a row. Those were really eye-opening experiences for us, kind of reinforcing things that we were aware of and seeing how they would be tangibly applied. For ASD, for example, that very first year, it was a lot of questions about cost and how do we compare it to Oreo, and do you ship from any other locations? Would you be willing to use a co-packer so that you don't have to put a preservative in your cookie? You can ship it fresher from a different location. And the very first ASD gave us the opportunity to talk to buyers of big chains, of small local grocery stores, even for things like Tatitas. There were a lot of Latin specialty stores, Hispanic specialty stores that thought it would be a nice addition to bring in, the Guam type bread that would be similar to tortillas, and having conversations like that about frozen supply chains and how they would get it over. Those are things that helped us spin our wheels a little bit, just those questions in the first couple of ASDs. And from there, attending the outbound trade mission and kind of the matchmaking service that WSADA provided, we were able to really tear apart the different mindsets that are required for expansion. So in Guam, with the Guam product seal and kind of Gita lifting every small organization up, and Guma's work as well, it has been positive in the way of creating what is Guam, what are we proud to represent, so that visitors who come know who we really are and they know what the island is providing. And people who visit home, they have a real piece of home to take with them, something our island is creating. So in that way, business on Guam is very much about the pride, about who we are and what we represent. On the international scale, the tables are turned very much. So it wasn't so much about we are this great cookie from Guam. It was we are a great US made cookie. And our benefit was we were much closer to Japan than the California cookie makers. So a lot of the conversations were, you're only 3 hours away by plane. That's so awesome. Now shipping costs are different. Now the ability to access fresh product is different than what they would get if they had to wait for ocean freight shipping from California or what have you. So I think, in the international sense, a different mindset had to be taken. And so, yes, we are proud of our Laddystone cookies and the Laddystone minis that we do. But in the international markets, in the grocery chains and all of that, the focus has shifted to our great chocolate chip cookie with no preservatives, with no added color and things like that. So kind of expanding the core of our product and still highlighting that we are a Guam grown business. Kind of that flip has been something we've seen a need for in the international market.
Yeah. And I think what she hit on too, going back to ASD, is that people would taste our cookie and the fact that we don't have the preservatives and it was the fresher taste. And, you know, we had like a gas station that had 85 different stores that just wanted to put their label on top of it. You know, it's like, how do we do that? How do we get there? How do we ship? So,
Right.
you know, the buyers were looking for, from one end spectrum to the other. Some people are looking for the uniqueness. They look for that unique item from Guam, the story behind the Latte Stone, the story behind what we have, and they wanted to put it in gift baskets for unique items. So it was just like talking to the buyers, understanding their needs. Everybody had a different story as a buyer, whether it's multi-million-dollar or whether it's, I have this cute little boutique that needs this, and you fit, you know, in the basket. But yeah, that I think that had a lot to do with what are the buyers looking for. I mean, just talking to them, understanding what their needs were. Yeah.
And I think in all of those interactions as well, we were able to open up our concept of what we thought we were looking for in our business. So we went out understanding that we do the occasional corporate gift and we do the occasional white label on a small basis, but there were so many, like you said, boutiques or small B&Bs who wanted a turn down gift or something that we realized more and more people were asking for. So now it's a page in our product catalog so that when people ask, they know we've thought about them and we're kind of experts in the area.
Right.
And I think that's a good, go ahead, Marie.
No, I was just going to add on our most recent trip that we had, but please ask the question. Well,
oh no, I was just saying like how all of that feedback is helping you guys. While you have one product, you have actually probably 50 different SKUs that you could get from all that. And I think like that in itself is extremely valuable when we look at how one product can now expand into, you know, different things, whether you mentioned like a gift set, another could be corporate gifts, and another could be whether that's flavor profiles, whether that's grocery, you know, chains. I feel like the ability for a product really to be global is the ability for it to be versatile. And I think like how you were talking about, you know, with, and then maybe because it's a cookie, you know, it's such a, it comes down to product choice. And I think that's going to be key. And while the cookie is not the only thing you offer, it's, you know, the one thing that you mentioned was how that interest, well, looking at it in a perspective of, you had all your products, like a lot of the products that you were distributing locally. Now you were like, we have to go somewhere else to bring the products. Like, so it's not just, yes, you're telling the Guam story, but now how can we become a cookie rather than just a Guam cookie? Like, I like that. Like, I think that's that is such a shift that, you know, moving into international business relations is understanding, like you said, what are the buyers looking for? And two, you know, they just want quality, good products that can get there and, you know, resonate with them. So as you're saying, Maria, with your trip.
Oh yeah. So we recently and went to Palau, I'm sure as a lot of you know, and that was such a successful trip for Everything Guam. You know, for several reasons. I think being that we went to a sister island, there was a lot of a good balance because we're islanders and we represent a region, and you could feel that kind of spirit as we were there from the last trade show. I mean, from the last outbound until now. And, you know, our success came for us is because we're actually in the Palau airport. So that's just, we did what we wanted to do. But the benefit of that is, I mean, obviously being in the airport is where we wanted to be. And we're working with other retailers now to help Palau. And it's not just bring our products and sell our products there. And, you know, I felt myself and the other delegation, we had really strong contacts, and it being a follow-up to Palau was good, because then we already met the people. Now going back, it's a familiar, now it's a friendship. Now it's kind of, the relationship is different from when we first walked through the door. And I think that was very important for this trade mission that we went on. And we made more contacts, and I see more growth in the region for us. So that was a success for us. But at the same time, I think it just helps everybody overall in the region. And I can see that down working through the future. So there's so many benefits to that. They learned a little bit from us. We learned a little bit from them. And again, the success is that we're in Palau now. So that's to the STEP program, and that's to WSADA for giving us the opportunity to go out there, show our product, and other people will benefit because we taught a few things, and hopefully we'll partner up further in the future. So I mean, who knows what's next down the road. Well, actually, we do know what's next down the road. So I'll give you a little snippet. We have been talking with WSADA, and it's just kind of a discussion at this point, but Guam has a lot to offer. And I think there are some talks between GHRA and WSADA, and possibly doing an inbound down the road. So hopefully that will come to fruition, and will allow, hopefully it'll increase the WSADA members too, from the island. But I think it's a great way to showcase all the talent that we have, and putting all the right partners. And again, it's just having the right people, the right mix, the right energy to push. And I think, thankfully, Gita has brought WSADA around, and we're all going to move forward together. So I hope everybody, other people on the island will see the same benefits that we have through WSADA, and that we'll kind of all grow together. So that's definitely, I think, something that's in the talks. I can't talk too much about it. I just know I'm supposed to do something down the road from Melvin somewhere, but anyway, good stuff.
And then I guess, when we talk about, these events that you guys are going to, can we talk a little bit about some of the preparation that, your team, you yourself, Marie, as, kind of like the spokesperson for the company and the products, like what were some things that you had to prepare for kind of leading up to these trips?
Well, it's good. The first time we went out, it's always like, you don't know what's on the other side. Did I bring enough? Did I bring too much? What's going to happen? Was my sign too small? So I think Gita, at the first trade show, they laid it out. Melvin was good to let us know really what kind to expect. So there was a lot of talk to build us up to going, but I think for the company, it's making sure that the cookies don't break. It's making sure that we have enough just to get the sanitation portion of it. How are we going to give the samples out? And then it's like, you got the passerbys, right? The ones that are just trying to sell Amazon for a living. You saw a lot of those folks, can they pick up a product? So you had to give enough to where, people can try the product. But then you had to have like your side stash for like the really serious customers that really are interested in what you got. So you had to make sure that, you have, the best, what you represent, not everything's good, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you had to make sure you had enough of the side packs for when somebody came along and you already knew there was a connection. There was like, hey, this guy's serious. What do you have? And then you pull that out. This is what I have, versus what you give for samples. So you had to make sure you had for the group, for whoever's going to come by your booth, you had to make sure that you have for the serious buyers, something that really showcases what you have and your capabilities. And then, of course, you had to bring the gifts, like for Palau, we had to give people gifts, just to show thank you, be grateful that we came. So, it's how do you bring 10,000 pieces of cookies to Vegas? And you just do, we did the best we could to try to get all that out. As far as like sales kits and those things, sometimes they give you these bags at trade shows and you just take and you forget who's what and what's where, you know? So for our purpose, it's like, you know, Tiff's really good. You know, she's comes from a younger generation than us folks or me folks. And so she's real good at putting together the stuff that you need to make the mark. So you got to make sure you present yourself well. So you have your catalog. You can't discuss pricing right then and there because we don't know the shipping. So that was our only downfall, I would say. You know, we can talk quantity, we can talk, you know, roundabout, but until you get that firm shipping, you can't really talk too much. So got to make sure you have your catalog ready to go at any minute. So of course we had the QR codes, we had a flip book for those that just kind of wanted to see. With our boxes, you mentioned 50 SKUs. We have about, I don't know how many, Tiff, maybe like 30 plus
30
ish.
something, yeah.
So, you know, good thing our boxes collapse. So we could just build them up, empty boxes, you know, just to present. So you got to have everything that you think you need in a suitcase when you're going to Vegas. But yeah, just make sure you have you know, your QR codes to get to a catalog, to get to your website ready easily, quickly. A lot of the Asian folks, you got to remember, they're very relationship based. So you got to have a business card. So we did realize that, you know, in dealing with Japanese, any of the Asian kind of cultures, a business card goes far. So you got to have that to make sure that you're ready to go. Yeah.
In the world of preparation, I think understanding what happened in our first trade show and what made follow-up difficult was how we prepared for all the subsequent trade shows and meetings. So the first one, it was a lot of that. Whose business card is this? Which Amazon buyer is this? You know, was it the boutique with a Pacific focus in Tennessee that wanted Laddie Stone cookies exactly as they are? Or was this the cookie collector in the middle of Montana who wanted us to make moose-shaped cookies, right? And so making those notes was still difficult to parse through. So in the following year, we made it a point. Anyone who was a really warm and good connection, we took pictures with them. So that when it was time to send the email, we sent, hey, it was so nice seeing you at Vegas, picture of me, Marie, and them, right? Talking about pricing now. So I think learning that in our first trade show made a difference in the follow-ups as we went along. And then in terms of translation, right? Even in our very first trade show, there were some buyers who spoke Spanish only. And they brought their child along with them to translate everything. And so we had to make sure that we could communicate with the translator, understanding what was the absolute most important thing to explain to somebody who was translating for us. And in Japan, thankfully, Wasada provided translators. So sitting at the table with me was a young translator who didn't exactly understand shipping. So telling my buyer that I need someone to pick up at our door to bring to their port, we had to understand really what the process was in order for the translator to understand and all of that. So that was some prep work for us. And then really seeing what our limitations were. There were some small companies, both in Vegas and in Japan, who were willing to take us as we were, but it meant a severe break in our margins for them to import and distribute, change our labeling, you know, represent us here and there. So those were things we had to figure out. Where do we have to hold the line and where can we shuffle things around in terms of pricing for the larger relationship? Just understanding the business, I think, and what our capabilities are has helped us in that world of negotiation.
Yeah. She came back and I had to we looked at the kitchen. I'm like, 33 pallets. If we move this over there and we move the cookie cutter over here, we quit doing this and we did this then maybe we could do it. So yeah, definitely had us thinking about potential for sure.
And it's so powerful. I think like just going on all of this, just how your strategies are changing. I like how, Tiff was saying, like, we don't, just to make sure that they remembered us, we took a picture. Like, who thinks about that? And I think that that's such a, when we talk about the art of negotiation and how important it is to be remembered, I think that once you kind of make that connection with the buyer, not only one, I mean, like you said, there's going to be a lot of issues and a lot of challenges that you're equally trying to figure out to make the sale and to get the product, right? So there's all of that at stake. But I feel like, just like how Chloe was mentioning earlier, when you find the right match, the right partner, it should all work out. And however it is that you guys figure out your issues, it's still workable, right? So I think at this point, I feel like the strategy that you guys have taken away is really what's helping your business to evolve. I think that's the word, Marie. It's an evolution more than a transformation. It's an evolution, I think, at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's good. I mean, that's what's going to make for healthy company. I mean, we're going to fall, and all of that, but definitely we got to evolve. We have to.
For sure. So would you say, because you mentioned that, these types of talks that you're having with folks, how many times, did you have to connect with them before you closed in on a sale, or even got those leads that are cold that eventually lead to warm and get hotter and hotter? Can we talk a little through that?
I'll talk specifically. We had met a buyer, a Korean group at ASD. And we went through shipping our products to their lab. We went through sizes. We went through, I mean, gosh, Tiff, we did just about everything under the sun to get us to where we were at a perfect fit. And we spent weeks on that, and it didn't end up panning out. So I think, that was a lesson learned from us, because, it was the right ingredient. We can't have this, or you need this in Korea. So that's when we're like, oh my goodness, we really need to think long and hard. And luckily that was our first actual real lead. And with that, it was so intense that we learned a lot from that. I mean, that was kind of like set the precedence for us moving forward. And, Chloe mentioned about doing homework and looking at the, where you're going to sell, and just understanding all of that. And so that was right smack in our face that, we may have a good cookie, but there's rules, there's regulations, there's certain things that you need for different countries. So, I mean, that was not a win for us, but, we've met several different people. And then Palau, I'll speak about Palau. I mean, going back to Palau the second time, I was like, oh, you're back. Oh, it's great, this and that. And there was one gentleman that I did not get to meet, and he heard about us, and he made it a point to come around the second time, and heard about the products and wanted to know more about the products. And that's definitely something that we're going to chase. Same thing with the other companies. After seeing our face a second time, they were like, okay, these guys are serious. Let's see what we can do. I was told going to ASD by some of the other vendors that, they normally, you have to come here 3, 4, 5 times before a buyer actually kind of really takes notice to you. And I can see some truth in that. I can see that, they have to see you a couple of times in order to know, okay, these guys are serious, they're here. But, we saw that in Palau, meeting them twice. Then it's like, okay, now let's talk. Let's see what you got. So there's some leads that we have there that we're going to chase. And then Costco in Japan, that's like my ultimate dream. So I'm sure we'll keep knocking on Costco's door. Get a membership or something. I don't know. And it's so interesting because I go to Japan often, and I happen to be in a Costco, and I send a picture to Tiff. This is before she went to the trade show or the outbound. And I took a picture, and it was, what was that cookie? It was Honolulu cookie in a huge pallet. I was like, see, we could be here. And lo and behold, she's like, they want 33 pallets. I was like, oh my God. Okay, let's close the business and make cookies. That's it.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
And so I
So,
guess
yeah.
as we talk, talking about, a lot of the trips, this is a lot of R&D, this is a lot of the preparation. So now what is it that Everything Guam and Laddie Stone Cookies is doing now to kind of put these things into motion? Are you guys looking at, 6 months down the line, what types of now, I guess, tangible, actionable strategies are we looking at here?
Well, we're definitely going to chase the Palau mission and what we've done already. We're in Palau. And with that, we've opened other connections and we've made other friends that we can grow Everything Guam in Palau. They have a need. We have the right mindset and the right product that will fill both needs, I think. So we're definitely going to head in that direction. And I can see that in the near future to grow in Palau. As far as our brand and how we look at export, I think the energy that we have at Everything Guam right now, we're really our focus is in export. We're looking at, like I mentioned in the beginning, is having that grassroots approach, where now we're looking at a more global approach, in that we have a really good cookie and we can sell it. So I would probably say in the next 3 months, Tiff, maybe 3 months, you'll see kind of a different look from us. And this all came out of going through trade shows and exploring export. So you'll see a different look. We're still going to keep our core, and of course, we're very prideful Chamorros that will never change, but you'll definitely see a different approach from Everything Guam to get into the global market. We're also looking at co-packing. We're looking at different partners, different areas. And that is something that we can see probably within by the end of 2024. Yeah.
And in preparing for what's coming, right, for us, both for export and locally, it's been a lot of integrating the feedback that we've gotten from international buyers, a lot of feedback about our packaging, what's going to work well when they have to relabel on top of our packaging, and then looking at how we can scale the operation. Little things like going to the Pack Expo show and seeing that there is a laser printing gun. So instead of using a sticker price gun label to put a batch code here and put an expiration here, we're going to be able to level up with a laser printing gun. But that means our packaging has to be designed with this in mind, a wide enough section, a flat enough section, to kind of streamline these things for us to help us scale so that we can put out the kind of volume that buyers are looking for. And then in terms of design, like Marie was saying, we're very excited for some of the new looks that are coming. And that'll just allow us to continue making the unique shape of our cookie while having the packaging be more desirable in an international sense. So still a taste of Guam with that international approach.
Right.
Yeah, I can, I think like how that has just really not evolved, not only the product, like you said, it just overhauled the entire thought process of, finishing up the product. How are you packaging it? How is it getting to the store? And I feel like before it may have been that, your thoughts were, a B2C process, right? Business to consumer. Whereas now it's just really like business to business. We're talking, that you're looking to make these sales based on scale and focusing on just that. And I think like that will really, that in itself helps you to really build more quality relationships where you have 3 to 4 customers that businesses that you're working with, as opposed to, the B2C type of strategy, right? And so I feel like that also has kind of, I guess, kind of helped really to transform a lot of things for Everything Guam and just how you're looking at it at that grand scale of things. So when we talk about, one of the things, right, that WUSADA does is, you know, reimbursement on the marketing side, right? So are there any like types of marketing strategies that you guys are doing that may be different from before? Or how do you see that, you know, helping to grow your product, you know, moving forward? Is that just focus on digital? Is it focus on, you know, Google Ads? Or is it just really, you know, like you said, I'm going to focus just on building out my catalog and I'm going straight to these companies, only going to trade missions, you know, so your focus is there. So if we could talk a little bit to that.
I think you had mentioned kind of what we had to accept for ourselves was we make a really good cookie and we're good at what we do, which is producing and developing new SKUs and developing products that are authentic to Guam and the kind of business that we are. And so a lot of our effort has been in finding partners who will take care of kind of that customer aspect for us. A lot of our focus is B2B, and the relationships that we build have been able to carry us very far. So when we speak to buyers at trade shows, it's a lot of, you know, this is who we are. What do you guys need? As opposed to what's the right paperwork to sign, you know, numbers and things like that. It's a lot of soft conversations about relationship. And from there, when people understand that you care about their business and their goals as well, we've been able to get a lot of support in the way of marketing and real estate for collateral. Little things like header boards on an end cap will make a world of difference for a product. And sometimes it's not offered if all you do is deliver product to a store. It's that conversation. How are the cookies moving? Is there a certain product you guys need help pushing better? Can we send you our gallery of photos that you can print for a header board? Do you need us to print shelf tuckers, right? So in that way, when we've spoken to international buyers and even the small chain stores, we've made that very clear that we're so happy to work closely with every store to make sure that, you know, we are partners.
Yeah. So Tiff said it. I mean, I think that our whole culture here really is about, you know, relationship based, partnership based. Maybe not so much you're my customer, but you're my partner, especially when we're wholesaling. So we've always had that mentality, even when we opened B&G and everything Guam. That's always been our main goal, is to just make sure we have partners and not customers. So that's, I think, where we come from. But I think also too, you know, whenever we try to make the sale or do anything, it's always going to come from our relationship first. And then when you talk about marketing, you talk about those types of things. I mean, we haven't really tapped on with what WUSADA can offer us, although I see there's many things that we can probably benefit from. You know, Gita has really been good to everything Guam, in that we've managed to kind of, you know, try to get grants from them, and some of them are marketing grants. We are able to do a video montage, I guess, if you will. That's something that we want to do. We haven't really done that. We haven't really marketed too much. Most of everything that we've come across has been Tiff or myself, in your face. This is who we are. This is what we represent. And this is what you can get if you partner with us. You know, and we've been fortunate enough to make some sales with that. And, you know, that's kind of how we are. But as far as the marketing goes, we're venturing off. We are going to try to get a little bit more of a website presence for e-commerce. And we're really trying to work on getting a video to where, you know, Guam is known for going to all these different places, the government, whether GVB heads to Big Site, or they do different kinds of trade shows that represent Guam as a destination. So because our partnerships are really good with government agencies, that's something that we're hoping that we can put in their forefront. So not only are you looking at Guam as a destination, but you can also see talent, you can see culture, you can see a good quality product. And we're going to do it in the light where we represent Guam as a destination. So I think for us, you know, we're fortunate to have that. But, you know, seeing all of the great things, I mean, I can see us already taking advantage of some of the packaging opportunities and labeling, because we'll need to do that with some items. So that was actually one of the notes that I had here, that we'll probably take a look and see if we can use some of your funds to help offset some costs for us. Yeah, so we definitely will see some future in that. PETA's, we've had a few grants that we've been fortunate enough to try to play around with to try to get some of that marketing out for us. Yeah,
I think it was 2021, and I can't believe it's been since that first round of STEP grant funding. But we did have the opportunity to run some Google ads and try our hand at that. We did get a couple of orders. It's been a lot of tweaking and learning the not so user-friendly part of both e-commerce and ads. So we did have the opportunity to do that. And I think, you know, staying close to Gita and WUSADA, just becoming a WUSADA member, we get emails that come out all the time. So training here, inbound, outbound, you have the opportunity to plan in advance. And our friends at Gita as well, letting us know whether it's the Instagram that they're tagging GVB and GVB Japan, things like that, has given us a chance to see what a little bit of effort for international marketing will do for us, even on the small scale that we have our e-commerce.
Yeah.
You know, and you bring a good point, Tiff, about, you know, e-commerce, and, you know, that's usually the case, right, folks, is to get a global marketplace, right? You're going to have to be on the internet, right? And that's if you're not trying to make, you know, multiple trips everywhere in the world, right? That's how you're going to get your products in front of folks. So I feel, you know, as much as difficult as it's going to be, you know, even too, for me, it's such a changing environment for e-commerce, Google. And right now, actually, just brought great idea to mind is our next training. We're going to bring Amazon Marketplace folks in to talk about, you know, how to get started, things like that to navigate. But also, one of the things I wanted to mention was these folks that we're bringing in, Josh and I think Brent, they're, you know, they talked about some of the relationships, right, that Amazon has and how folks can be able to partner to help with the shipping. And I was like, well, I didn't even know that UPS was, you know, part of this, and how we can, or, you know, as an Amazon partner, they can help you to kind of cut costs. And I was like, I never even knew that. But, you know, especially for us on Guam with the whole shipping issue, you know, I feel like how is everything Guam tackling that, you know, as far as getting the product out? One, we know that the product can be made, but second is, how are we getting the product out to the buyers?
So looking at the existing products we have that we've had since about 2013, we definitely created them to travel well in somebody's suitcase, right? So you're packing it to bring home, you're packing it to bring back to the States, or you're sending it out in a care package, usually as part of a larger carton. In terms of creating items specifically to fit in flat rate shipping cartons, that's something we're looking at, because we see how some of our best-selling items are this much short or this much tall for the most economical shipping option to the States or to Japan. So at ASD, we had the opportunity to pair up with a USPS rep, and they kind of opened our eyes to some of the options, whereas flat rate isn't always the cheapest. Maybe it's the regional box that we should size our things up for, especially if it's a Japan or Korea focused product, right? So just expanding where we're looking for resources. USPS has been great. And then in terms of the couple of hits that we've gotten for e-commerce, it's been a lot about pricing, for sure. We don't want our products to be priced out of the market just because of shipping. And people really can get some of the freshest directly from us. While we definitely share all of our retail partner locations on the website, there's that extra bit of effort, right? If you don't have someone on the island who can go to Kmart or ABC for you, they order online, they come through us. So it's been a lot of trial and error, and some of the new products that are coming out have been developed specifically with e-commerce and shipping in mind. So more sturdy products, or a little bit more space, if you will, so that they're sturdier in transit. But those are just things that go into the sausage making, if you will.
Yeah.
Wow. This is, you know, when we look at this as a whole, you know, and how this is really affecting operations, did you guys have to add any new employees or whichever to take on this? Or, you know, is that something that's kind of building into your strategy?
It's funny
We
that
just
the
added
first thing
in.
Marie does is laugh.
I know. 'Cause it's like there's still just the two of us. It's-
Our
But,
cooking crew has definitely
yeah.
had to diversify their
Yeah.
skill set, right?
Yeah.
Understanding the medium side load box is not as spacious as the medium top load box. And then figuring out newspaper holds better, this filler holds
Yeah.
better. And then
Right.
our, you know, our dedication to not creating more waste than we have to, right? There are certain things that go into the business that are an absolute requirement for us to share the best product that we have.
Yeah.
But from there, whatever we can do, we try to make it as sustainable as we can. So
Wow.
just training our staff to pack things as best they can, get the best
Right.
product out.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, folks. I really appreciate Marie and Tiff, you know, for taking the time to, you know, sit down with us. I mean, that was an entire journey. And how long was that? A year and a half, 2 years, 3 years? That was since 21. So 2, 3,
Yeah. 2021.
almost 3 years.
Fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're just getting started. Or
Yeah.
in the thick of it. I don't want to say getting started. You're in the thick.
Yeah. No, it's good. And I think, you know, as a business owner, maybe let me start over. You know, I guess with our personality, it's exciting and it's challenging for us. You know, there's so many negatives and there's so many bumps and there's so many that happens. But I think just looking at it, just like you said, it's from 2021, you know, there's just so much more growth and we just see it as a company. And it's good, it's healthy, and it's not only healthy for everything Guam to continue to grow and to challenge ourselves and to create a better product, to create a better work environment, to keep on creating. And not only does it help us, but hopefully, you know, other companies can look at us or we can look at other companies in the same voice and we all level up as an island. And I think it's always been my heart, because, you know, being from Guam and seeing the growth that we've come, it just puts a smile on my face. So I think not only as a business owner, but as a, you know, someone who's from the island, you know, it's just good. It's good. It's healthy for Guam. And it's, you know, all of our counterparts, our colleagues, you know, we share a certain trait, and it's just, we want to be better as an island. We want to be better entrepreneurs. We want to have a good product. And, you know, it's just good. It's good.
What would you say, I guess, in your parting words, Marie, you know, we talk about lifting each other up here as, you know, small business
Yes.
owners and utilizing and leveraging, you know, resources that we can be able to bring to others. You know, what would you say, you know, is your parting words, you know, to those coming into it and those maybe, you know, looking to, maybe they've been doing it and they're not, they don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I guess it's an on and off. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, in this context, as far as export goes, and as far as that goes, I guess, you know, we've been it for a few years, and we're in Palau. You know, I'll be at a small island, and it's don't get discouraged, because if you can continue in the path to export, and it's just what I just said. It's just about growing your business. So in your travels, don't give up. Don't be discouraged by shipping. Don't be discouraged by labeling. Don't be discouraged. Just keep on moving forward, because either the light bulb's going to go off and your plan might shift or change, but at least you're growing and that you're on the path. So I guess my message would be, you know, getting our stuff off the island of Guam may be a little bit difficult because of geographic location. don't give up on it, because I'm thinking the way that we've been moving forward, the way that we've had support in growing Guam and growing the economy and just growing, they're going to find a way that's going to be useful and better for all the companies. So as long as we keep on pushing forward, as long as you keep on trying, don't get discouraged, keep pushing forward. And then, you know, you'll get that break, you'll get that buy or the sell. So just don't give up. And if you do fall forward, make a mistake, if you fall forward, learn from it. And it's, you know, every day is going to be a new day. Just don't give up.
And I think too, I'm going to add a plug here, Marie, because I love TIFF. Everyone needs a TIFF.
Oh gosh, you know what? Let me just say this. I cannot do it without the TIFF, because I think we have good synergy, Tiff and I. Sometimes she wants to choke me, but you know, but at the same time, you know, I couldn't do it without Tiff. She comes with a lot of energy, and she comes with you know, that spirit of the new stuff, and she can make a QR code and she can do all these great things, and I'm like, yay. So everybody needs a TIFF. So, and nobody can have this TIFF, so just keep going.
I think a good partnership is definitely important. If I can add on there for anyone who's looking to scale, having a good and having a team that is focused on the same end goal, right?
Yeah.
That whether we kind of fly around and how we're getting there, as long as we're kind of heading in the same direction, that's how things have been able to grow for us. So find you a good team.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. Like, this has probably been like the highlight of the rest of this training here, definitely with having you guys and Chloe. Chloe, you're looking for success stories right here. Definitely
Right.
tap into Marie and Tiff.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I guess before we leave, we have a couple more minutes left on the clock. If anyone wants to ask any questions, you know, feel free. You want to, you know, this is like such high energy, and I'm so happy for everything Guam. You know, Marie and your team, you guys are like infectious. So if anybody has any questions, you know, want to ask Marie or Tiff, this is the time.
I do. This is Mark from Guma again. So it's very interesting because I didn't really know the entire history of everything Guam, but as you guys are talking, I'm getting the general gist that when you started attending the export trade shows, that apart from our own internal need because of our tourism economy here on Guam, it seems to me that the rest of the export world that is very interested in your products, the value is not so much in the fact that it's produced in Guam, it's the product itself, right? I mean, is there really that much value that's driving them to be interested in your product because it says it's made in Guam?
You will find a mix of that. And I think Marie has a couple of favorite examples of why our Pacific centric product brought us to the forefront of some buyers' conversations. But then you have the generalists, the grocery store that just needs another US made product.
Right.
And there is a high demand for that in a lot of nations. But you will see a good mix of people who want us specifically because of the Guam theme.
So for your future growth, then it's for the grocery store chains that you would be interested in doing the co-packing, the ones that don't really care about the made in Guam, and then you keep the made in Guam stuff for the markets that really it does matter that it's actually produced here.
You know, I think generally, if I can understand your question, I think for being on Guam, the made on Guam feel is 100% important, right? Because we want to show our tourists or visitors or anything that this is produced in Guam by local people,
Right.
And it represents Guam. If we take it outside of the market, people who choose to white label with us or when we extend, I will still carry the made on Guam label, because the fact is that the idea, the genesis would be from Guam. Now, whether they choose to, they don't even need, some people won't need it.
Right.
And then I think if we co-pack, we have to look at percentage and how GITA regulates the made on Guam. Will it be on there because of regulations or however? Probably not.
Right, right.
But that's, I'm sure, 100% sure that if we were to land that huge, white label, there will be a piece on there that says, this is from Guam, whether the originators are from there, whether the
A Guam
idea is
company.
there,
Yeah.
but this would be a Guam-based something, because at the end of the day, this is, you never forget where you come from, right? That's
Right.
that's who
Right.
you are. That's who you are. And so there'll definitely be some, but to answer your question, if we co-pack with LA and they have a gas station at 65 whatever and they want this, they want that, it'll be brought to you by Everything Guam, Tamuning 416 Challenge San Antonio.
Right, right. Thank you. And that's part of the reason why I'm asking the question, because I know that for at least some of our participants here, whose ingredients are primarily basically not grown in Guam, it's always seemed kind of interesting to me that we import all the raw materials, transform it here, and then we send it right back to the mainland, which is really the most inefficient way of doing it from a wholesale perspective.
Right.
So I've always wondered, to what degree, if you really want to grow and succeed, would you not just move your manufacturing closer to where your buyers are and closer to where your raw materials are, set up shop as a Guam-based company or a subsidiary in the mainland, buy your sugar by the train carload, if you have to, by cubic metric tonnage, right? And then produce and then sell to the entire mainland without having that extra shipping cost. But, at what point does it stop becoming an export then for Guam?
Right. I think that what you said is something that we definitely have already mapped out, thought about, and have made connections, hence the co-packing and looking at that. I think it is an eye opener to have a good quality product that people recognize it and it resonates quickly. And the first thing, it's like, oh my God, it's going to cost 5 times as much by the time it actually gets there. Right. So of course, it's like, we set up shop. This is what we do. We just, now the company grows. Right. So definitely that's something we have looked at and have conversations about on a daily, but ultimately coming from Guam, if we could, because this is home, I don't want to move anywhere else, but we want to be able to export, and if anything, if we still can't figure out the shipping, we still can't figure it out, then we make Guam sustainable. Why do we have to bring Chips Ahoy? Just buy Everything Guam cookies, and then Guam becomes, we're in every, we kind of look at sustainability as opposed to export, if that's the case. But I think at the end of the day, we definitely looked at setting up shop at a satellite area, white labeling. But yeah, it'll definitely say Guam somewhere on there for sure.
Right. But in your particular case, like that whole example with the buyer, the Costco buyer in Hawaii, who really appreciates the closeness because it can be fresher.
Right.
But maybe instead of shipping the entire finished product from Guam to there, what if you were to set up the cooking and packaging plant in Japan, but then you send them the raw dough, fresh from here in bulk, and then they just finish it there.
It's interesting because
they have that exists already. So that's something that we're actually talking about. There are some companies in Japan that actually do that. They are interested in the US made. They're to finish the product there and to wholesale house there is something that exists already. So we're also looking at that.
And I think that would probably be the exciting part of every business's expansion, right? Seeing what is possible. A lot of the success stories that you hear about will open your eyes up to what worked for a specific company or a specific industry. And with what we're doing, the continental US doesn't count as export for Guam. But there's definitely a lot of the diaspora that we are looking to serve with a fresher product, with a more affordable product. So our co-packer who would be located in the US would be specifically for our e-commerce for the diaspora and people who love Guam who are looking for that. And then in the world of Japan, Korea, and our partners in the Oceania region, that's where the new conversations happen. The products that are made in Guam that bear the Guam product seal, there is specific interest for that. And the businesses who are looking at any good products that they can co-pack in Japan, different conversation. So that's a couple different streams of business that we're now open to just because we were exposed to buyers. So in all of that, we definitely encourage people to have that kind of exposure for the experience and seeing what people are looking for that maybe you could offer, but were never asked to. I think that's helped us kind of expand.
And then also too, part of the labeling aspect of it all, we have some, for example, Saipan, right? We carry, instead of it being, what is it? It's Marianas instead of Guam. So we all still are in the Mariana realm. So it kind of helps with the, you know, that side of the world to label it Marianas instead of Guam. And we still bear the Guam product still.
Sure.
In that guard, yeah.
I'm sensing a little bit of a change to this Guam product seal. Just saying, a lot of these great opportunities comes you know, you see
but you know,
other ways that you can be flexible.
Yeah, I think with the Guam product still, though, I'm glad it exists. I know that back in the day, you know, seeing these companies come in with Guam and everything else not being from Guam. So I think we definitely needed it in the marketplace for sure. Yeah, and other places too, they look at the Guam product still and want to do the same thing for their environment or their region.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, folks.
Thank you
I
for
think that
having
concludes
us.
today's training. That was really fun. Thank you so much. And I appreciate, you know, your time spending to share not only, you know, your expertise, but also just giving folks, you know, an idea of what it's going to be like, you know, to kind of move into the next stage of export, how it's helped you, and also, you know, talking about the resources that, you know, Everything Guam has utilized to help get you there. So we really appreciate that insight that you've shared with us, Marie and Tiff. So with that, folks, I'd like to conclude today's training. Again, as a quick reminder, we have one more training in the Expert Readiness program. It will be next week, Tuesday at the same time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Via Zoom. The same link that you used to get to today's training is the same that will be used for next week. We will be talking about the Amazon Marketplace, specifically Fulfilled by Amazon FBA and Fulfilled FBM. So we have two folks that are going to be you know, discussing a little bit more about that. A lot of the both of them actually have a logistics background. You know, one is a customs broker. So it's going to be helpful. I really wanted to incorporate the whole shipping aspect of how we can be able to kind of utilize that as a means to help factor in the pricing for products trying to get out of Guam. So that will be really helpful. And also, you know, looking at what options are available if folks are interested in listing your products in Amazon. So with that, that concludes today's training with the Guam Economic Development Authority and GUMA, and we'll see you next week.